Okay, so I was saying, I just added a couple fours here. So when you're younger, you did addition, okay, and then from here, you learn how to make this shorter. How could I make this shorter? Valerie?
4 times 5.
Good, so it would be 4 times 5 times. Okay, so we went from addition, now you learn multiplication. So then from there, you had then multiplication. How did you guys make this shorter? Haley? 4 to the power of 5. Okay, so math, we keep trying to make things shorter and shorter by using different operations. Okay, so from addition, we went to multiplication. From multiplication, we go to exponents. So now we're adding something called factorials. So what factorials is we take a sequence of numbers. So let me give you an example. So we have 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 all the way to 1. We could use something called factorial. Factorial is the symbol exclamation mark. Okay, so we could rewrite this to make this shorter to just 10 factorial. I'll do some examples right now, I'm just explaining. So 10 times 9 times 8 all the way to 1 is the same as 10 exclamation mark, which is called factorial. So 10 factorial. Okay, right now I want you on your calculators to find where the factorial button is. If you don't have your calculator, you won't be able to do this math. There's no chance. You're going to be pushing in a lot of numbers. Is it this one? It should be a factorial. Some of them say n factorial, like an n. I'm trying to find mine now.
Mine says exclamation mark.
Exclamation mark, that works. Oh, that's up here. So up there, see the X orange. So I want you guys to find it. So for here, if I press 10, and then for this button, it's in the orange, so I press shift, and the button, it shows an exclamation mark. I press equal, it's 3,600,000 and something. Did you find it in yours? I want to not find it on theirs. So you press 10, press shift that button. So you get 3,600,000 and something. Anybody else? Did you guys have it? Yeah. Got it? John? Got it? No, calculator yet? Press 10, shift, or some function that one. Okay, so for those watching this at home, sometimes the factorial, you'll see it like this on your calculator. You may see it as x factorial, or you will see it as an n factorial. Okay, so that would be the button. Often it's in the second function. So for those at home, for instance, it's the underneath here, x exclamation mark. Okay, so this just tells you so you go from a number and you count your way all the way down to 1. We use factorials when repetition is not possible. Okay, so when we can't repeat something. So in the lesson, I think 2.2, there are, the bank code? Has everyone got it? Bank code, so it was, instead of 4-digit code, it was 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. Okay, so that's if repetition is allowed. But then the second question, it said repetition is not allowed, so then it was 10 times 9 times 8 times 7. Okay, so that's what I mean here by repetition and not. So if it's not allowed, we can use factorials. Okay, so then we have something called, another part of permutations is when we are selecting a group from the whole. Okay, or selecting a sample from the whole. So the n represents all the items, the total. And then r is what we're selecting from the total. So what we're choosing or selecting. I don't know people writing. Just an FYI, breaks. Every class has now been given a break schedule. So if we're gonna take a break outside, it's gonna have to be from 10:45. Sorry, 9:45 to 10 o'clock. So maybe we could go outside today for 15 minutes. Okay, so we have the we have the formula. So it's NPR. So P represents the permutation. And I'll show you, there's a button on your calculator for this. So N is your total, and then we're picking a certain amount from the total. So that's our R. So N is the total, and then P, we'll say picking or permutations. R is what we're picking from the total. Okay, and it's N factorial divided by N minus R bracket factorial. I'll show you how to do it. It's not very difficult. Okay, so this is when we're picking from the total. This one here is when repetition's not allowed, but we're using everything. We're using all the numbers. Okay, I'll show you with the examples now. Okay, so first I want to show you the long way, and then on a test, there might be I might say show all your work. So if I say show all your work, I want you guys to actually expand it. Okay, so for this, if I just say evaluate, just give me the answer. But if I say evaluate but show all your work, then I would expect a couple steps here. Okay, because I know you guys right now can plug this into your calculator or shoot out an answer. But I'm gonna take one step in between just so you guys become familiarized with it. Okay, so 4 factorial. If I were to expand this, what would 4 factorial be? Valerie?
4 times 3 times 2 times 1.
Good, so 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Okay, and the homework, if this is evaluate, just plug into your calculator. Press 4, press the exclamation mark, press equals, and you're good. Okay, so for this one, it gives you an answer of 24. Okay, 7 factorial, same thing. So we start at 7 and we count down all the way to 1. So that you don't have to write every single number. Like if someone gave you 20 factorial, I don't expect you to write 20 times 19 times 19 all the way down to 1. Okay, if you just put the dot, 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 that means everything in between. Okay, so 7 factorial. Someone give me that. Maria? 5,040. We guys, everyone agreed? Got that? Thank you. So it was Okay, C, 5 factorial divided by 3 factorial. Okay, and I'm going to show all my work. If it didn't say that, you can just plug it into your calculator and it'll shoot an answer. I think the answer is 20. So 5 factorial is 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 all over 3 times 2 times 1. I'm going to show you a shortcut here beside your calculator. Okay, so what, anyone see the shortcut here? You see it? Was it shake up? Yeah.
Just cancel out.
Cancel out, good. So we can cancel out the 3 times 2 times 1, top and bottom. So you're just left with 5 times 4, which I said is 20. Okay, now the last one. Everyone okay with that so far? Any questions so far? Pretty straightforward. So now we have 6 factorial, which is 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, times it by 4 factorial. So 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. See that on there. Divided by 5 factorial, which is 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Again, once we have a question like this, you can cancel out. So we're going to cancel out the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with this one, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now we're left with 24 times 6, 144. So 144, final answer. Again, if it says evaluate, you can literally just plug into your calculator. If a test I just say evaluate, don't show your work, plug it in, 1 mark. Okay. Same with your homework, says evaluate, just you could just plug in your calculator. If I say show your work, then I would expect steps in between. Good. Give you guys a minute. Okay, so you're gonna see that I have a lot of like, basketball examples. 'Cause I coached a lot of basketball, like a ton, especially at high school level. I've been coaching like 12 years. So I have a lot of basketball examples. Okay, so Mr. McKenzie lines up his 5 basketball starters. So I've got 5 players on the court. I line them up. Okay, so I have a line of 5 players. And asks how many different ways can I do this? How many different ways can I do this? Okay, so whenever it says a line, I want you guys to have it, think the same thing. So what you should do is list it out. If it's a line, always put the spots, always. Okay, so I'm lining up 5 people, so I'm thinking 5 spots. So I have 5 players in front of me. How many options do I have for the first spot? I have 5, right? So I have 5 players that I can put in the first spot. So once I choose the first person, they stay there. How many people do I have for my next spot? 4, right? So I decrease 1. I can't use the same person because there's this one person. So 1 person in the first spot, 1 person in the second spot. And what's my next spot? 3, then 2, and then 1. Okay, so again, I have 5 players I can put in the first spot. Once I take 1 person and put it in the first spot in the line, then I have an option of 4 left. Okay, 4 players remain. I take one of those players, put them in the line, then I have 3 players remaining, and so on. Okay, then what we do is multiply them. So 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. 120? So there's 120 different ways I can line up those 5 players. Okay, so 5 players, I'm lining up all 5. Okay, so going back to the definitions, just to explain something again. So factorial, we're using everybody. Okay, so for example, the 5 starters, 5 players, I'm lining up all 5. When we get to this one here, this could be, I have 10 players, and I want to pick 5 from those players. So I have a group of 10, and I'm picking 5. Okay, so I'll show you with more examples. So that's 5 players, all 5, we're doing factorials. Okay, next one. There are 8 people on the junior girls relay team. You guys have track here? Yeah. Okay. 4 will be selected to take part in a relay, racing in a given order. So I told you there's a specific order when you're doing a relay. And how many ways could the 4 runners be selected? Okay, so often relay teams, it's not just the 4 people. They might have an extra person or an extra 2 people for subs. Okay, well in this case, I'm going to say there's 8 runners. From the 8 runners, we want to pick 4 of them. Okay, so this is going back to the formula. So 8 in total, picking 4. So we write this out as 8, picking 4. Okay, 8. So 8 runners, and we're going to pick 4 of them. Since the order will matter and where they are in the race. Okay, there is a button on your calculator again that could do this for you. Can everyone find the NPR button? Not the NCR, that's next chapter. The NPR. Where is it on this one? So for the ones who have this calculator, it's above the multiplication sign. So you would press 8, for myself, I would press 8, shift the NPR button, and then press 4, and it'll give you an answer of 1,680. Yes. But I'm going to expand it. It works like this. For this formula, you just divide, but when we get to the next formula, which is the next chapter, it adds another piece to it. But yeah, that's what it's going to be. I'm going to expand it. So I'm just showing the shortcut right now. Again, if I just ask you to shoot out the answer, the 1,680, they would not find the calculator, the button on their calculator. They would not find it. Okay. Okay, just to show you when I expand, so the formula is n factorial in brackets n minus r factorial. Okay, so the n is the 8, so I have 8 factorial over, in brackets, 8 minus 4. Sorry, the glare. Again, I'm doing the long way. So I end up getting 8 factorial over 4 factorial. Again, if I asked you to show all your work, I expect you to expand it. just doing it just so you guys know how to use the formula. But again, you just plug in your calculator. Okay, so we're gonna cross off. So 56 times 30. What's that? 16.8. Any questions? Good. Okay, last one. I want to kind of do one more after this, just to go backwards. Whoa, what's this? Okay, this one's a bit challenging. Another 30 seconds and we'll go through it. Okay, so pretend I had 8 people in the front row here. Okay, so say I had 8 people sitting in this front row. It asks me first, how many arrangements are there? So how many ways can I sit these 8 people in a row? Okay, so a row would be the same as a line, right? So I have 8 people in a row. Okay, what would be the answer for that? Let's go ahead and get it for Ethan.
40,320.
Okay, so what you do to get that answer, Daniel? 8 factorial, good. So 8 factorial, 8 people in a row, or in a line. So it'd be, I'll just do the long way. So 8 spots, how many people could I put in the first? 8. Take 1 out, then I have 7, and all the way down to 2 times 1. Okay, so 8 to start, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so or 8 factorial. And sorry, what was it, Ethan?
40,320.
40,340?
20.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So 8 so there's 40,000 ways I could sit those 8 people. It's a lot because the order matters. The numbers are going to be very high for this chapter. In the next chapter, the numbers will decrease because they take away overlaps. So right now, there's 8 different ways. Sorry, 8 people in 1 row, 8 factorial. Okay, B. This is when it gets a little bit more difficult. how many arrangements are there if Mariana and Cassandra have to sit together? They're in my other class, so the other half of this. So how many arrangements if they have to sit together? Okay, so this is how we're gonna look at it. Okay, we still have the 8 positions, okay? So let's say Mariana and Cassandra are here. They're sitting together. So I have to keep them together. We consider them one group. Okay, so they're a group together. So Mariana and Cassandra, because they have to sit together, we consider them a group. Okay? The other 6 people, students, can move in any positions possible. So don't copy anything out yet. If the other 6 can move anywhere, what would be this spot here? How could I do this one? So Haley? 6 factorial. Don't copy this out. So the other 6 can move any which way in any position, so they're 6 factorial, okay? But Mariana and Cassandra are moving as a group. So they could be in this 2 spots, they could be in these 2 spots, these 2 spots, these 2, these 2, and these 2. So they move as a group. So we consider, since there are 2 people as one group, we add them to the 6. So this is one group. Since they can move, this position's 2, but together, we now have 7 factorial. So the 6 individuals plus the one group. I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make sense? So 6 individuals can move any way, plus the one group, they're moving together. And they can move they can move seats. So they can be here, 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 or here. Okay, so 6 plus the one group is 7 factorial. So what happened is we just take 1 off the total. So it's no longer 8 people, it's 6 people plus one group, which is 7 factorial. Okay? But, not finished there. There's one small part to add to this. There's one more thing we have to multiply by, and it has something to do with these 2. Anyone want to take a guess what we have to multiply? Jacob?
Would you multiply by 2?
Excellent. Why?
Because they can switch spots.
They can switch spots. So Mariana can sit here and Cassandra here, and they can switch spots. So that means we have another 2. So we times by 2 because they could switch. Could you guys do this? Just do 2 factorial. Okay, because if it was 3 people, it would be 3 factorial. So we're you could times by 2 or 2 factorial. So again, these can move together as a group, but within their group, they can switch spots. So that creates a new order. Okay, so 7 factorial times 2 factorial. I have no idea. Someone tell me. Let's go, Daniel.
10,080.
10,080.
Yeah.
Everyone agree?
Yeah.
All right. You're gonna see that very often, this question. This will be on the test. A question like that. Any questions with that one? 6 individuals, one group is 7 factorial, and within the group, they can move. Okay, the last one. How many arrangements are possible if they can't sit together? If they can't sit together. I want to actually, it would be very difficult to actually figure out all the different orders, okay? But if you look at what we have already, let me see if you guys can come up with the answer. Okay, what does A represent? What does A represent? Haley?
The different combinations throughout all 8 of them.
For all 8 of them. So that's total. So this is all the ways we could send 8 people. What does this one represent? But Marianne and Cassandra are sitting together. So we have the total. This is how many ways they can sit together. So how do I find how many ways they can't sit together? Some light bulbs going up now, Ethan?
Can you do it as like the whole class as a group and then each people around them, or like the rest of the row as a group?
Looking for something simpler. Daniel?
Just subtract B from A.
Exact. Subtract them. If this is the total, this is how many times they are together. So if I subtract them, it'll give me how many ways they're not together. Okay, so we just subtract them. Oops, 40,000. So that's 40,000, 320. Subtract. So we get 30,240. Okay, so just to show you what it is in the formula, so it would be 8 factorial, which is the total, minus this part, 7 factorial times 2 factorial. Okay, so the total minus how many ways they are together. I have one last thing for you. Okay, so this is just something to help you with your homework. Don't have to copy this out, I just want to show you. So in the book, they're gonna ask you to go the other way. Okay, so they're gonna give you questions like this, and they're gonna say, write it as a factorial. So they want you to rewrite this with an exclamation mark. Okay, so let's start with the easy one. How would I rewrite this as a factorial? As a factorial. Haley?
6 factorial.
6 factorial. Okay, you don't have to copy this out. So that'd be 6 factorial, that's it. They just say rewrite it. Okay, trick one here. 6 times 5 times 4 factorial. How can I simplify this as 1 factorial? So Evan? It's still just 6 factorial, yes. Because what does this mean?
6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2.
Yeah, so this means 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So it ends up being from 6 to 1, so it's still 6 factorial. Okay, good. Now the last one's a trick one. Got it?
I can try.
Yeah.
Would it be like 6 factorial over 3 factorial?
Ah, yes, good job. Okay, so this one here is 6 factorial over 3 factorial. And how did you get that? How did you get that?
Just like, because if you like expanded that, you'd cancel out the 3 times 2 times 1.
Yes, okay. So 6 times 5 times 4, it doesn't continue. There's no factorial here to continue it, so it gets cut off. It gets cut off. So what it got cut off, it would have been 3 times 2 times 1. But it got cut off or it got canceled out. So the only way to cancel this out is if there's a 3 factorial in the denominator. Okay, so just pay attention to that when you're doing the homework. Okay, so you have here, you got a half hour to break. We can run outside for 15 minutes. Okay, come back in, you'll have the next 40.